The UK wants to block peaceful protests and limit strikes as hundreds of thousands of workers walk off the job. Writer Dalia Gabriel explains why workers won't back down.
The fact that the government is responding to this wave of strikes by attacking the right to strike in itself is uniting the labour movement. So actually what we're seeing is that nurses, rail workers, ambulance workers are not only fighting for themselves, but are fighting for each other. We can see that the system is crumbling. The strike is essentially the only tool that we have in order to force through the changes that we actually need to see. They're important for any member of the public that wants to be able to reliably call an ambulance, that wants to be able to reliably put their kid in state education.
The UK is suffering a severe cost of living crisis, with millions unable to afford to heat their homes. It's estimated that 7.2 million people are going without basic necessities. Mass strikes have been ongoing since June 2022, many the largest of their kind in decades.
The government's attempt to curb our right to peaceful protests is going to have a knock-on effect on the labour movement. So instead of actually having to engage with demands, they are essentially just trying to mask it by banning a public expression of dissent.
The Public Order Bill will limit the right to peaceful protest and will criminalise tactics that are deemed disruptive. Under the law, people who regularly protest could be tagged with electronic trackers. Police would also have the power to shut down protests before they even begin. A new anti-strike bill for minimum services is also in motion. Both bills have been criticised for attacking democratic rights.
When you hear things like 500,000 workers going on strike, that really makes you feel like you're not alone in your struggles and that these struggles are systemic and global, particularly when we look at that international picture and we're seeing, 800,000 public sector workers in South Africa on strike, when we're seeing French workers going on strike against pension reforms, and we're seeing Amazon strikes in the US, it becomes really clear that we have more in common despite the attempts of nationalism to divide us, that working class people in one country have much more in common with working class people across the other side of the world than they do with the government and business elites in their own country. And I think it's what's really pushing the labour movement to survive and struggle through the many attempts and the very well-resourced attempts of governments and business elites to break this wave of strikes and this uptick in labour movement organisation that we're seeing.